This is Let's Talk Call-In Radio. Let's talk getting to the root causes of the important issues of the day, or at least discussing important issues of the day and of the century and of life itself. This on-the-air community forum believes your voice matters and welcomes all thoughts and views without judgment. Please join today's conversation by calling 415-663-8492 or 8317. And when you do call in, and please do call in, this show is all about you, not about us. When you call in and hear the phone ringing, just hang on. You'll hear a little noise as Shelley puts you into the system, and wait for her to say you're on the air, and then give us a first name, turn down your radio, and please keep the language clean. This is live radio, so... And your hosts, the co-hosts in the studio today. I'm Paul Raffel. Over opposite me is
Stephen Hurwitz.
Stephen Hurwitz. And on the board, at the controls, controlling everything.
Oh, if only, huh?
Shelley Rudd.
Thank you, Paul. Good morning.
And today...
Yes.
We're talking about truth.
Truth?
Yes, truth. Not too big a subject.
I just want you to know I came without notes.
Is that true? This is true. Yeah, it's not... I mean, we can talk about anything about truth, but not necessarily delving into the different philosophers' takes on truth and their semantic paradoxes and, God, go on and on forever. A cow has four legs and pigs can fly, is both false and true.
Yeah.
Okay.
So did you bring this up because we live in an age of age of confusion about truth?
Well, it has been said, the phrase has been coined that we're living in the post-truth world now, a post-truth society, where truth, whatever that is, and let's explore that, but where truth is just doesn't matter anymore.
I've been having fun with that.
Oh, yeah. What do you mean? What do you mean?
You're writing fiction.
Well, if the president can give us permission to say untruthful things, I mean, hey, why can't we all do it?
Well, of course we can, and do we? All good questions. 415-663-8492 or 8317. And what is truth? I don't know. What is truth? Truth is obviously subjective, right?
Yep.
Because reality is perception. It's we only know what we perceive.
Does truth have to be agreed on?
Well, obviously it can't be, can it? Because some people believe a lot of things are true that other people believe are false.
Well, you know, I think that to have a little compassion for these people who are believing false things, that there's falsehood that are being peddled as if they are true. And it's making it really difficult to identify what is an actual fact from somebody who is just pushing their agenda.
So we have to be fact-checking all the time.
Right.
But
I think that's a concerted effort to undermine the power of the media.
Speak up, Stephen.
I'm looking right at him.
Well,
my nose
I
is
think
in
that's
there.
part of it, you know, definitely. But there's also people trying to win votes and saying what they think that the people who are going to vote for them want to hear.
Yep.
Well, so what do people want to hear? Do they accept everything? Here's the thing. So,
yeah,
we all accept, do we not, that politicians lie. There are gradations of lies and truth in everything that a politician, for example, says. Right? I mean, is that not a general given that you don't trust politicians all the time? You kind of go with, okay, they lie some of the time, but at least they're telling the truth about this, or at least they'll get this done, or whatever. We tend to filter out the things that are not great about them and yet take them on. Is that not just the same case here, where here's this sort of religious fervor that's come up around the president and his minions because, again, we go back to this whole thing that people are afraid and everything seems to be falling apart, and here comes a savior. right?
Well,
We're all brought up on, or we used to be all brought up on religion, and a lot of people are brought up on religion. What is true about religion?
You know, I've had more sympathy lately for Kellyanne Conway's alternate set of facts.
Okay, help us understand.
Well, don't we all have our own alternate set of facts? It just seems to me that in her context, maybe her alternate set was really out of sync with the mainstream. But it just seems to me that people what they decide is truth is based on what they consider the facts are, and there are so many choices out there as to what facts really are.
Boy, you really ate the Kool-Aid or drank it or whatever.
Bit hot there.
Thank you very much.
I'm a little hot.
Yeah, you're a little hot.
Okay.
But and we have a caller. Or
Yes, we
do.
do.
Alternative facts. But where is that line? I mean, truth. Do we expect truth to emerge in public life? And
I think it's really these people are spewing an agenda. They're trying to get people on board with something that isn't true, but they say it as if it's true, so that you'll come along.
Them actually believe what they're saying.
You think they do?
I'm probably, Brett Kavanaugh, I'm guessing, believed that he did not try to assault this woman, this girl, when because he probably doesn't remember. And how could he do a thing like that? He may believe that he didn't. I don't know that that's true. Of course, obviously, he doesn't know.
I think that something that separates misinformation from a lie is intention.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, shall we check in with our caller?
Indeed.
Caller, you are on the air. What's your name?
Let me on the air.
Why you oughta.
And that is truly my name. I can supply my birth certificate. Okay, so first of all, Stevie Hurwitz, I hope you were kidding when you said you had compassion for
Kelly.
that she-hag.
Oh, easy now.
Kellyanne Conway. Because she is the most cynical and opportunistic of twisters of words. Really.
She's very good at it.
And I think we've all, I know we all marched, well, I did, in the Women's March, and there were great signs that said Free Melania. Well, I think we know where she stands.
Right.
Too.
Yeah.
So I think we can just say, well, I'm just going to say that the real enemy of whatever, truth there is, which there seems to be getting, buried and stomped and into the ground. The enemy of truth really is disinformation. That, in the realm of politics, is pure avarice and cynicism. It's premeditated, and that's my opinion. It is not necessarily empirically true. It's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with your opinion. Yeah.
I'm sorry. This Brett Kavanaugh, Paul Raffel, Brett Kavanaugh was lying. To say you don't remember, first of all, he may not remember, but he and that bratty little friend of his, Mike Judge, ironic name of the century, Mike Judge, they followed that little younger girl. Think about this. She's 2 years younger. In teen years, that's huge. It was a power play. They were terrorizing her on purpose, and they planned it. Now, they may have planned it 5 minutes ahead of her going upstairs. They for sure planned to terrorize her, and whether or not it meant to be a rape, or if it just was to terrorize her, he was going to, I don't know if I can say it on the air, somehow satisfy himself through his clothes and totally humiliate her all at the same time, which is maybe what was happening. Who knows? We don't know the truth there. But come on.
Okay.
They went up the stairs, they followed her and pushed her. They did it on purpose.
Yeah.
And
well, that's...
I think she was telling.
You think but see, I actually agree with you, but what you're saying is you think that she's telling the truth. So your perception is that she's telling the truth.
That's right.
Yeah.
Perception has a lot to do with it.
Truth is what we make up, basically.
I'd like to get it out of the politics. Everybody.
Yeah.
Well,
not-
but we're leaving out the fact that there are you can obtain actual facts,
Yes.
corroborating stories.
Right.
All of those things are possible to back up what we choose as this is true and that's false.
Shelley, what about medical science? We consider something so true for so many years, and then a study comes along showing that everything we considered true about this is actually not true.
I think that's evolving knowledge. That's learning and growing. It's not that someone lied and then got it wrong. It's that it was right for then, and then we learn more and it changes.
That's a very good point.
It used to probably be considered true that the leeches were to be applied effectively.
Well,
And it still is true,
they
by the
still
way.
do some of that, but yeah.
Okay.
But for everything, because that was lack of knowledge.
No,
correct, right.
leeches actually do have a place.
They do.
Yeah.
But
Well, I'm going to go make an appointment right now.
yeah, go
To get yourself leached.
Get leached. But how about smoking is good for you?
That used to be thought to be
Another
true.
Greedy aberration.
9 out of 10 doctors smoke
wrong.
Camels.
Oh, yeah, and milk is good for you, too.
Oh.
Well, over
Does a body good. No,
But
that
I want to jump off so other
Okay.
people can call. But
Okay.
I do think that weak-mindedness, some kind of cultish, weak brains born of whatever that comes from,
Wanting to fit in.
where you can, yes, that's really good. Yes, that is amazing.
Wanting to belong, yeah.
Desire to fit in and be in a tribe. And then the tribe has its own truths, and so we have a big divide, for example, in this country. And the idea that, I don't know what the percentage of people that don't believe in climate science.
Yeah, it's not about believing.
Right.
Yeah,
But
it's not.
sadly, the people in the White House, it behooves them, and this is the other layer to that, is that he probably does believe in climate science, the pinhead in chief, but he's too overarchingly greedy, and he's also weak.
he's compromised by the fossil fuel industry owns him. Not only him, but the rest of the Republican Party. But that aside, don't we sort out information based on information that we agree with or that coincides with our own perspective and call that true? Some people, it's really our predilection in many ways as to what we consider true or not. Or does it have to be factual in nature? And then again, there are so many ways of interpreting facts.
Well, that's true. Facts can be manipulated.
So can you get down to that dig down to that place where this is true?
I think Sally may have left us.
No.
Oh, you're just thinking. You're thinking.
I want to say thank you and goodbye. I didn't want to make the terrible hang-up noise while you were... So I'm going to gently retreat. And that's a great question. I will await its answer off the air. Stephen Hurwitz, thank you.
It's always nice to hear from you, by the way.
Thanks for calling in, Sally.
Thank you, Sally.
Bye.
What is truth? Well, again, we're talking about...
We're on KWMR talking about truth.
Let's talk truth. Do call in 415-663-8492 for one start. And then if that's busy, call 8317. Why not? And keep the language clean. So, truth. So, again, everything we're saying here, it reminds me of religion and the basis of... so many hundreds of years, 1,000 years of European history and Middle Eastern history, let's say, and other places in the world are founded on faith. What has faith got to do with truth and belief in this all-powerful thing that people are now looking for? I mean, this is from an article I read that maybe it's the search for a messianic leader who will lead us out and make America great again. I mean, it's the perfect kind of quasi-religious fervor that he has.
Right.
It doesn't matter what he has done, what he does, what he says. It doesn't matter if it's the truth. They will follow it because he is the truth and the way.
That's their filter.
Right,
they have
right.
that filter.
And they don't, well...
But it's not just about politics. Let's just say it's not about politics. What about...
Well, science is a good...
100 years of advertising, for example. With all these fake slogans that we kind of know are fake, but we're willing to go along with, with some of them.
But you don't look
Right,
at advertising for
packaging
truth.
Well, but do you buy products? Are you influenced by advertising? There's the question.
Gluten-free.
Gluten-free. Roundup is safe.
Fat-free.
Roundup is biodegradable. That kind of thing.
I think you're talking about a category that's completely different than what I think we should be discussing in regards to truth.
Ah.
Oh, well, we have another caller. Shall we see what the caller has to say? Caller, you are on the air. What's your name?
Good morning, everybody. It's MK.
Hi, MK.
I'm thinking about truth and looking, so looked up a bunch of stuff this morning. But I was sitting here listening. It's like, in order to accept the information that's being belted at us all the time, you have to have an open mind. And what happens to the open mind when you're sort of buffeted around by this wind of varying opinions and truths and all the rest of it? I think if your open mind becomes very tired.
Yeah.
So I think perhaps what you should do is go back to the basics of... I'm an early childhood person, so, what you're going to... If you're telling children about history, if you're telling children about how to live in the world or trying to demonstrate how to live in the world in a productive and fair way, you just have to start very, very small. And that's sort of where I am, is that I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to be full of despair, although there certainly is room for that. And go back and look at the really simple truths and try to, build it up from the bottom again, rather than always wriggling against it and being insulted and having your intelligence insulted, which certainly happens on a daily basis now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So do you have a ready example of what one of the simple truths would be?
Kindness makes you feel better than unkindness.
Ah. Mm-hmm.
Knowing that you can count on some small things that, if you very basically, if you're learning how to cut up a carrot, let's say, if you cut up a carrot and you do a good job, you serve it to your friends, they're all happy. Sometimes the knife slips a little bit and you cut your finger, and then you know that there's somebody there to comfort you, and show you again the proper way to do it, and the safe way to do it, and just start with these very small building blocks. Because if you look into the world and see what's happening, it's so exhausting that people give up, and I think that's a big danger.
So coming back to your own personal truths.
Yeah, because who else do you have?
Mm-hmm.
Right. When the knife slips, you will cut yourself.
Yeah, you might.
Yeah,
you might slip off the table and cut somebody else.
What do you think? Is it part of the plan to keep just bombarding us with things that outrage us so that we do give up? And
yep,
it creates a state of confusion.
Yep. And the people that really care, that aren't the sheep, are at the most vulnerable, I think.
It's hard too, because to speak for the sheep, that they may not. I mean, each side thinks the other side's of the sheep.
Maybe we all have a different shepherd.
Yeah,
right. That's right, Stephen. That's true.
Yeah,
but you got to be careful, because
who do you follow?
Because the temptation to just disappear and go underground and live out the rest of your days.
I guess for me, I
hate that.
I want to follow people who have a truth that reflects a care for the environment, a care for humanity, a care for animals, a care for caring.
Yeah,
you're talking about spiritual truths.
Generosity in all of us, Shelley, that not just women.
Well, even politicians, Stephen, can espouse these things on their political missions. And I guess that's what I'm talking about. You know, what are the values that are behind this person who's got a particular truth?
And we shouldn't get sidetracked by Melania Trump's piss helmet. I mean, come on. And her ugly little coat that says, I don't care. And
I thought that pith helmet actually, it completed the outfit, actually. I don't see people interpret, it's like, oh yeah, she's out there and she's giving the colonialist image.
But
I don't think that was the intention
Stephen,
at all. I just think she had
what
a great
about that
outfit.
coat?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
A little hot
there's
again.
a depth issue there.
Right.
So,
Well, anyway, it's...
I don't know. There's nothing wrong with a good pith helmet when you're in the tropics. A friend of mine has one of the original ones.
Keeps the snakes from falling on you.
right. There's always a good use. You can
Again,
canteen.
The belief...
Come to shove, you keep your frog alive until you get home.
The belief that that she was making a colonialist statement is a real perception brought on by what? By antagonism towards her and her
brought
husband.
on by those kids in there. Those kids of 45 with their dead animal carcasses.
Well, yeah, sure. There's all that.
But there's all that, and we can always get all riled up about it. But,
Well, yeah.
keep your truth simple, kiddos.
Okay.
The Wild said the truth is rarely pure and never simple. Yeah. So anyway.
Very true.
Hang in there. Have fun.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for calling.
Thanks, MK.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Again, I'll go back. I think a lot, you can't talk about truth. Perhaps you can, but there's also this thing about lying that has to do with truth, and I think it's about intention. That you know what quote unquote the truth is, and you purposefully say something that isn't in accordance with what you already know. So if you have a firm belief in something and you say that and you're wrong, you're just misinformed. But if you know that and you say it, well, that's a lie. Of course, our president he's just bathed in lie. I mean, he takes showers in them.
Well, so here's the thing. Part of the criticism, I mean, we always end up talking about him. How can you avoid that?
Well, he's taught us all the art of lying.
What if he isn't actually lying? What if he is just ignorant? What if he just says things that come out of his mouth? Out of his brain. Again,
but he says
Sally
that
mentioned
over and over and over.
What's her name? Kellyanne Conway.
Right.
She knows better. She knows what she's saying. She's
have to
very
love that
careful
woman.
about what she's saying.
I forgive her.
But
what?
there are
You have to
people
forgive.
there are people in the world who just say stuff that just blurts out of their mouth, doesn't matter if it's real or not. And I think
they sold their souls.
It's possible that
I think that's
a
true
lot of the
some
time
of it.
Trump is doing this.
I think he does that a lot, but at the moment he is saying something over and over and over again that I think has the intention of shifting perception.
I think they've sold their souls to the fossil fuel industry.
Well, among others. I mean, they're not the only one. More like military industry, I think. But, yeah.
Well, maybe it's true. Maybe we do need the military maybe we are in danger from external forces.
Well, there's always a case to be made for a band of people who are ready to defend us. But, these forays into how many countries now?
Oh, my.
Well, you were saying something earlier about we hold these truths to be self-evident.
Exactly. Oh, do we have a caller?
We do have a caller.
Yes, and enshrined in the Constitution.
You're on the line. What's your name?
It's Sally.
Hey there, Sally.
Uh-oh.
So
Keep it clean now.
Sorry. I'm so sorry.
I mentioned Kellyanne Conway, and she's got to come back.
But I have to say, in rebuttal to you, Paul Ruffel, that Trump says things that just come out of his head. Well, okay, I'll go part of the way there with you. But 2 words, Roy Cohn.
Roy Cohn, yes.
He's a 70-something-year-old bloated
Easy.
Is really, he was taught by a really heinous, manipulative guy who was really powerful, Roy Cohn.
Yes.
He knows what he's doing, and whether or not he's, an unmitigated moron, he may be that as well, but he's also someone who's been taught and follows a practice.
Right.
That practice is born of...
Say anything.
Well, no, say something very specific.
By rote, if you will. But he is saying stuff on purpose and lying constantly because the lie becomes the truth,
Sure.
which is
Right.
the whole thing about
It's a
truth.
tool.
His quote is saying, "Where's my Roy Cohn?" So,
Stephen Miller.
but I think one of Trump's, when you say his techniques, is that for him, media attention, he's got to be the center of all attention, and worked in the primary. When things started settling down, then he'd come up with something more outrageous. All the focus came on him again. All the rest of the candidates were just like left in the dust. And then as it started settling down, then he'd come up with another thing.
Yeah.
He is, I gotta say, he is brilliant in manipulating the media and keeping the focus on himself and sucking the media money away from the rest.
When that's all you care about, that's what you get good at. He has that skill. He has that trait and that skill. Yes, true. Motive, yes.
Motive.
And taught by...
Look at what his interests are, and that is what find maybe the source of, his, what makes him run and why he is the way he is. But he has, on top of being a complete unmitigated liar, he's also a victimizer who somehow has been able to make himself out as the victim, and he's even after he admits, the one time he told the truth, saying, grab him by the blankety blank, you can do anything when you're famous. Then he said, yeah, sure, he's caught, but it's like, locker room talk. So then you get a characterization of something that is truly, that's a real manipulative thing.
Look how brilliant the man is. We're talking about him. He's sucking up Let's Talk time.
Exactly. Every week.
Well, the stakes are pretty high, So I know maybe we're preaching to the choir, but the stakes could not be higher at this moment.
That's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you.
Thanks for calling, Sally.
I promise not to say anything incendiary.
I won't call anymore.
Please do.
For this show.
Bye, Sally.
Thank you. Bye.
You are listening to KWMR. This is Let's Talk Call-In Radio. And KWMR Community Radio is supported by our listener members and by the Bovine Bakery, located in Point Reyes Station, providing West Marin with pastries, coffee, soups, quiche, and pizza made from organic ingredients. Open 7 days a week, the Bovine Bakery. KWMR is supported by our listener members and by Marin Agricultural Land Trust, a member-supported nonprofit organization working to preserve Marin County farmland. On the web at malt.org. That's MALT.org. We are also supported by To Celebrate Life Breast Cancer Foundation, raising funds to help women and men living with breast cancer. Through its Bay Area Breast Cancer Grants Program, the foundation supports nonprofits that provide direct and emergency services and believes that no one should face breast cancer alone. Information about how to get involved is available at ToCelebratelife.org. And we're talking about truth today. How do we know what's true? And if you want to join the conversation, the number to dial is 415-663-8492 or 8317.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. Yes, truth. Okay. Politics. Hillary Clinton was asked at one of their debates, will you promise not to lie to the American people? And instead of lying and saying yes, she said, "Oh, I'll try." Right?
Wow.
And she was lambasted for that. And
Because she didn't lie?
Because she didn't lie. She told the truth. She had the highest security clearance you can get at the time. And, of course, there are going to be lies told. This is what we all accept, though, levels of lies. Levels of lies on media, levels of lies in, social media for sure. You tend to filter out what's coming at you and what isn't. Spam, email, history, religion, news. Yeah. So where does the truth lie? How do we decide what the truth is? It's going to be completely subjective. It's a personal thing. Truth is a personal thing. That's my opinion.
Well,
so it must be true.
I think that if somebody claims something's true, really it takes time to find out whether or not they really believe that, and that's a product of how they act. People say this is true and then act in ways that are contradictions to what they...
Can you give an example?
No, I'm completely blank on that.
I'm trying to imagine that.
Well, religion is the best example.
Right.
That's really, the claims as to that Lord has given us truths that can't be questioned, and then, so often the actions
go against that. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody's washing feet around here.
But we take we say things that we believe. Our truths are all based on our own beliefs, right?
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
Well,
Our
what
filter.
about, so belief suggests that you're sort of pulling it out of nothing. I feel like there's information that we receive that informs why we think something's true.
Sure.
So it's not just a belief.
That's true.
Well, it's shaped by how we've been brought up, what our life has done to us or for us, what we have believed in the past, what we've experienced. Do we know that? How do you know you're going to cut your finger if the knife slips?
I had a father-in-law who often made inferences based on information that came at him that weren't correct. But for him, it was true.
So it was like there was the old correlation is not causality thing.
Yeah.
Or
every time you water the sidewalk, a ball comes rolling down the street because that happened once.
Therefore, when you water the garden, there will be a ball rolling down the street.
Right.
Yeah, right. But that was true once.
It happened. Yeah.
Where's the line? I don't know. That's the question.
Well, I guess
415-663-8492.
Yeah, for me right now, I'm struggling with the idea of truth versus belief because to me it's not the same. But for you, it sounds like for you it is.
Well, I think personal truth, what we believe is true, is based on what we believe. Ooh, man. See, I really didn't want to get involved.
I think it's, I don't know if it's belief. Well, so what is belief? I mean, because I feel like if I'm believing something, there's nothing tangible that I can connect with. It's pure spiritual belief.
That's faith.
Right, okay.
I've always thought it was so interesting that someone who is so fervent in their belief in a specific religion that if they were brought up in a different home, under a different set of circumstances, instead of being Catholic, they would have been Protestant, or they could have been Jewish, or Islam, whatever it is. It's now. How does that
Sure.
jive?
How was a New Guinea tribesman living in the highlands there on New Guinea going to be a good Christian fellow? Of course, he's not going to be a Christian until the Christians come and try and convert him. And, I mean, it's and therefore, in that way, they believed that he was a heathen, a bad
lesser
person.
being.
A lesser being, yeah.
He might even be following most of the tenets of Christianity.
But God created him.
Exactly. He's just living life. He's probably okay with his wife and kids. He's he gives.
This is a perfect example. This is a perfect example. You're holding a truth that he's just up there in this little idyllic spot. He's up in the mountain,
from idyllic.
And he's just living his whole life. That's what I would imagine. Basically, when you're living in nature, you're basically just there surviving and relaxing when you can, and you don't believe that there's a tremendous dark side.
Oh, of course.
Well,
but that's
true of all humanity, right? All being human,
including Christians, I dare to say.
Yeah.
What's
up?
So
there's truth. We've come up with a truth that all humanity has a dark side.
Well, the black, the white, the yin, yang, everybody, we're on a spectrum, a continuum of dark and light.
Richard Feynman, scientist, said, "We never are definitely right. We can only be sure we are wrong."
I guess that kind of goes along with the idea that, science, in one decade says one thing and then years later they change it to something else.
As more discoveries are made.
Right. So that...
You nailed that one.
Well, thank you.
What's up?
Well, I said that and then her response.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But, so what... Yeah, let's just posit this. What if what we believe is the truth about global warming or climate change turns out in 10 years to be false? What if it was not?
Like
what if it's not made by us?
The year 2000, we were all going to lose all our money because the internet was going to be broken or the banks were going to be broken, but then 2000 came and nothing happened.
True.
Or the end of the world, when was that? 2006, it was going to be the end of the world.
Oh, well, isn't it all the time?
So I went and watched the sunset for the last time, and then I woke up the next day.
Yeah. Mayan calendar, belief in the Mayan calendar. Give us a call, won't you? 663-8492. How were your truths altered by the fact that the Mayan calendar came and went and the world didn't end?
Elizabeth calls.
And,
she's an expert on that.
And here's another. The truth, what we perceive as ourselves, how do we know ourselves as well as do other people around us, do friends and family know more truths about us than we would?
Different truths, I would say.
Different truths.
None of them are truths.
I remember my grandmother.
Excuse me.
Wow.
She told me that that you are different. You're a different person to each person who sees you.
Okay.
And by way of saying you can't really control other people's perceptions of you, and so coming back to being true to yourself, your own personal truth, and not worrying about how other people perceive you, because they are going to bring their baggage to that perception.
So we, in some sense, are we are a product of other people's perception. We don't exist in someone else's eyes. They have extrapolated as to who we are based on who they are.
Well, it's an unfolding as well, as we have our first impression. We see someone, it's visual, and we come up with a story. I don't know, I do.
Sure.
Don't you? About who that person might be. And part of that's our instinct to self-protect, right? We want to know, is that a safe person or a dangerous person? But, anyone who's developed a long-time relationship knows that there's this ongoing unfolding of understanding who the other is. and who our own self is in the relationship.
Would
Do we
somebody
ever know the
please
truth
call in
about
and help us
ourselves?
out? We need some help.
We're going down the rabbit hole here, people. 663-8492. Give us a call. Truth. We're talking about truth. And then there are places in the world where truth is supposed to reside, like courts. Churches, of course, synagogues. That's where truth resides. There are places on earth, the Delphi at Oracle, the Oracle at Delphi, excuse me. The Oracle at Delphi, all these places that we've imbued with, there's a sanctuary where truth exists for us. If we just go there, we will find the truth. Is that still true of the court system, you think? Was it ever true?
No, I don't think it even pretends that.
Well,
the courts really are presented with a collection of facts, and they have to sort through those facts and decide on what, from their perspective, what seems not only relevant but comes together to essentially what they consider punishable or not, or actionable, essentially. Not necessarily thinking that they've got a handle on it, but given the set of circumstances that they have, given this time in space, this is how they have to conclude.
Very good.
Let's hear.
They're trying to find the truth, and then science is more popular than ever before. We're all using that as the
guidepost.
The guidelines now. We're saying that you have to believe scientists. As scientists, once you become a scientist, once you get a degree in science, say in chemistry or physics, meteorology, engineering, are you therefore made into a truthful person? I don't know.
So science can be used as a tool to slant the truth. Yeah. Hey, we have a caller. Caller, you are on the air. What's your name?
Well, hello. It's Mark Solomons who sent the note via Facebook. Very happy to join the talk this morning.
All right, welcome.
And I basically mentioned that I've been listening to Michael Savage and to Rush Limbaugh. Very, very illuminating to hear their language and their vicious attacks on the other side. And it's just fascinating. But the one thing I wanted to mention now is that a friend of mine sent me a link to a video with someone who I never heard of. His name is Yuval Noah Harari, and he wrote a book called Sapiens and Homo Deus. And in this brief video clip, he talked about how each religion thinks they have their own truth, their own fact. So their way is right, and the other one is not. And it's basically a narrative and a story that we all begin to believe. And then he went on to say that, Google has a story and Toyota has a story, and that and the lawyers are the ones that create the truth. And I found that fascinating, that collectively we believe what is in front of us. And so when do we make our own decisions? That was one outcome I had about, we all have to be thinking for ourselves.
Right. Yeah, I think I made a comment recently about how important it is that we learn critical thinking, that we do stop and ask questions, and it could be something that comes out of our own mouths, and we might have to check in with our own self and say, wait, why am I saying that? Why am I holding that perspective or thinking that that's a truth? Maybe I need to find out.
But then that involves everyone having to do research into everything they read. When did that line get crossed where, it's been going on for decades, centuries, that people write things as an agenda rather than as factual. But
I think the internet and social media
it's just constant
really
I think you'd have to
became
trust.
a tool to make that happen.
You have to add the word trust in here, though. There are certain people we've identified who have points of view that are consistent with what we think is what we approve of. We trust them, and so we allow them to come up with some points of view that we can subscribe to.
Because we feel safe that we can trust them.
So, Mark, do you think that Rush Limbaugh really believes what he's saying most of the time?
I have wondered about that. His elocution and his diction is so precise. It made me think of Andy Rooney and missing Andy Rooney on 60 Minutes. I'm curious what is his background, training, etc. as a speaker. I don't know. What do you think about that? Do you know one way or the other?
I don't know. I have it in my brain that he married a Democrat, a liberal. I could be wrong about this, but she was like a mouthpiece for liberal causes, and anyway. But no, my impression of him, it's like Alex Jones, who in his custody battle over his child said, "This isn't me. I'm just playing a role. I'm a radio personality. That's not what I really think. I'm just doing. All right, it's all about ratings." And I think that Limbaugh for certain is that way, and Michael Savage, well, who knows?
Well, Michael Savage also spoke to a book he recently wrote called Mass Hysteria. And when I mentioned this to my mother, she said, "Oh, yes, he's the one who fostered the mass hysteria, or Limbaugh has fostered that." But that's not what he claims at all. He says that it's the people that are in the halls of Congress and stopping someone in an elevator that are taking it to the next degree and soon...
Yeah, so that's the gaslighting that says that you people who care are hysterical. Get a grip, and we saw this in the Kavanaugh hearings. The Democrats were repeatedly called names and that they were causing problems. And then, right afterwards, Trump goes out and says, "Oh, this is a difficult time for men right now." The victims, all these men. That's gaslighting. That's flipping the truth to foster a particular agenda.
Yeah, and then the question that your other host asked is Limbaugh trying to promote that agenda himself? And I would imagine it is, that he wants to promote an agenda of less government and more free market. I mean, just this morning he was talking about climate change being just a way for government to get larger and regulate, and he doesn't believe in that. That's a policy principle, and that's something you can debate and say, wait a minute, okay, you don't like that. Here's the reasons I do like having regulation. So we don't have banks that fail. Or
limos that kill 20 people when they don't work.
I don't think we should ascribe that everyone is two-faced. Some people have, drunk the Kool-Aid.
Different truths.
They really fervently believe, even that's the most extreme point of view, they believe this, and, they'll follow Jim Jones all the way to the end.
Well, I am heartened to say that I did see a little video on social media this morning. It featured Trump supporters who said, they went with Trump because of the promises that he made when he was campaigning. And now that he's been in office and they've discovered that he did not uphold his promises. And so now it's woken them up. And they said, they're seeing what he does. And so, I'm hopeful.
Time will tell.
Yes, there's an election coming up. So
yes,
everybody vote.
No, we are not advocating for any candidates, by the way.
Are we allowed to advocate for voting?
Oh, for voting in general, absolutely.
Okay, do it.
get out and go to the polls. Well, I'm going to get off the phone here. I'm so happy to have a moment to join you, and it does sound like in the rest of your time you're really talking on a philosophical level about the nature of truth, which is a very profound question to look at.
Thank you for calling.
Thank you, Mark. We appreciate the call. It's great.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, if you want to call in and join the conversation about truth, the number's 415-663-8492.
Different truths. How can there be different truths?
I know. You're boggling my brain.
Something's true or it isn't. Not so. It turns out that there are alternative facts, alternative truths.
Right.
Depending on who's saying it. And
something, if I knock on this metal, and can't we agree that the truth is it's
hard?
solid?
Well, now. No.
Oh.
Not if you know anything about quantum mechanics or the fact that everything, including us, everything is mostly space.
Yeah, my hand
that
won't
as
go
solid.
through that. It's true that from the perspective of my hand and the metal, it can't pass through that.
That's what's made a big difference in apparently, from what I've been reading this past 3 days. I'm so knowledgeable on this subject. That quantum mechanics, quantum physics, and just mathematics has changed the way that scientists look at truth, at facts, at truth, because there are physical things in the universe that are both true and false at the same time. There's light waves that are actually particles, and how can that happen? How can they be over there at the same time they're over here? That can't be. So it's forcing the greater minds than mine to consider all these things. And truth is the creator messing with our mind. Does truth exist at all? I don't know. It does to me. What else?
Well, I can talk about truth related to dealing with my dad and short-term memory loss, and that I had to learn how to be really good at lying. Because his truth had been altered. And if I was to go with my truth, it would really confuse his truth. Right? So I had to learn to recognize that he was functioning with a different set of facts, a different truth.
Yeah. Well, that's a great example, though. Would you really count that as lying? I don't think so.
Well, if it isn't the truth.
If you're not used to,
It depends on the context.
This is green,
really?
Stephen.
Yeah. Truth depends on the
yes,
on the
it
context.
Does. I wouldn't call what she's doing a lie.
Stephen, this is green.
Well, no.
Okay, well, the point is that I'm not used to telling lies. So it's a practice that you have to take on if you're not used to doing it. Some people are really good at it.
So it was to help him be less confused about things and
to feel safe.
To feel safe.
To feel like his reality made sense.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a positive. It's a positive reaction to a set of conditions. It isn't like my mother who used to tell these little white lies. Oh, there's no garlic on that, to somebody who just absolutely hated garlic. I mean, now that's not true.
But it made them feel better. The people who didn't like garlic.
Until later.
No, she knew. She went,
fine.
oh, this got garlic.
Well, there's another. It's too late to start talking about this now. But there's the other thing is that is truth what makes you feel better? That's part of the reason for
right.
You want to believe things that make you feel good, which is we're back to politics again. But
it's interesting when you put that on the Kavanaugh hearing, what made them feel good.
Right. So just a last thing before we close, there was a study this morning came up, non-toxic. It may say non-toxic on your nail polish, ladies. Doesn't mean it is. They're still putting terrible, harmful chemicals, even when it says 10 free or whatever that means, 13 free. There are all these chemicals that they say they're no longer putting in, but they're putting in substitutes. So there's an example of
manipulating the
an
truth.
untruth. It may not be a lie, but it's an untruth.
No, I think that is a lie. I think
Or disinformation was mentioned earlier. Yeah, disinformation.
It's the intention, though. If your intent is to misinform, that is you're lying.
Yeah, and it happens a lot.
Unless the context is right, you just said.
No.
Thank you for listening today.
Give me time and I could explain that.
This has been Let's Talk. Thank you to all our listeners and our callers. That's great. We're here every Thursday at 11. KWMR does not take a stand on any of the issues discussed on Let's Talk. Opinions expressed on this program are those of the hosts and callers and don't necessarily reflect the views of KWMR, its board of directors, underwriters, or members, or anybody else.
Hey, Paul, can we go into the next hour? This is some stuff that really needs to be settled.
No, because New School of Commonweal is coming up next.
All right, here we go.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for calling in, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you.